At exactly 8:43 p.m., my phone buzzed with a message from the family group chat. "We've agreed you're no longer part of this family. Don't come back to any gatherings." My mom sent it. My brother reacted with a thumbs up. My sister replied, "Finally." No one defended me. I stared at the screen for nearly a minute, then quietly typed only 3 words. "Thanks for confirming." I didn't argue. I didn't beg. At 1:12 a.m., I opened one banking app and canceled every payment I'd been quietly making for my family. By sunrise, their phones wouldn't stop ringing. My name is Emily Carter, and I'm 34 years old. At 8:43 p.m. on a Tuesday, my phone buzzed while I was reviewing invoices at my kitchen table. I expected another reminder from work or maybe a grocery delivery notification. Instead, I saw the family group chat. My mother's name appeared first. "We've all agreed you're no longer part of this family. Don't come back to any gatherings." For a few seconds, I honestly thought someone had hacked her phone. Then my older brother, Jason, tapped the thumbs-up reaction beneath her message. A second later, my younger sister, Rachel, replied. Finally, my aunt added a praying hands emoji. 2 cousins reacted with hearts. Nobody asked what had happened. Nobody asked if I was okay. Even worse, my father was online. I watched the tiny green beside his name. He read every message. He said absolutely nothing. The silence hurt far more than my mother's words. I leaned back in my chair and reread the message again. Then again. 23 people were in that group. Not one person questioned whether kicking me out was fair. I could have defended myself. I could have exposed months of lies. Instead, I typed only 3 words. "Thanks for confirming." I hit send. Within seconds, my mother removed me from the group. The screen went blank. Just like that. 20 years of birthdays, holidays, family photos, vacation plans, and inside jokes disappeared with one tap. Oddly enough, I didn't cry. Not immediately. I simply sat there staring at my reflection in the dark laptop screen while the apartment grew quieter around me. Most people would have assumed I was devastated because I'd just lost my family. The truth was, I'd lost them long before that message. The group chat only made it official. I walked into the kitchen and poured myself a glass of water. My hands weren't shaking. They were strangely calm, almost like some part of me had been expecting this day for a long time. The problem wasn't today's message. The problem was what had happened during the previous 8 years. Every birthday dinner, every holiday, every emergency, every phone call that started with, "Emily, we just need a little help." Little by little, helping had quietly become responsibility. Responsibility had slowly become expectation. Expectation had eventually turned into entitlement. And nobody, not even my father, knew the full story. Not because I was hiding it, because I never believed love should come with receipts. If your family needed help, you helped. That was how I'd been raised. Or at least, that was what I'd always believed. My phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't family. It was my bank. Upcoming scheduled payments. I opened the notification automatically. The familiar list appeared. Mortgage, car payment, family mobile plan, home internet, insurance, utilities. Every payment already scheduled exactly as it had been every month for years. I stared at the total. $8,746.18. Every single month. Quietly. Automatically. Without reminders. Without thank yous. Without anyone outside my immediate family ever knowing who actually paid them. I opened the budgeting spreadsheet I'd maintained since I was 26. Every payment was color-coded. Every transfer documented. Every confirmation neatly organized. Not because I expected praise. Because numbers never lied, even when people did. Outside, rain tapped softly against my apartment window. Inside, my phone remained completely silent. No apology. No explanation. No call from my father. No message saying there had been some terrible misunderstanding. Just silence. Then my eyes drifted to the bottom of the payment schedule. One transfer remained pending. Processing time. 1:12 a.m. I looked at the glowing clock on my wall. 9:07 p.m. 3 hours remained. For the first time in 8 years, I wondered what would happen if I simply chose not to press approve. I didn't press approve. Instead, I closed the banking app and leaned back in my chair. The apartment was so quiet I could hear the refrigerator humming from the kitchen. It gave me too much time to think. Not about what my mother had written, about how we had reached this point. 8 years earlier, my father suffered a serious heart attack. He survived, but recovery forced him into early retirement. Overnight, my parents went from comfortable to constantly worried about money. I still remember sitting at the hospital beside Mom while she stared at a stack of unpaid bills. "I don't know how we're going to keep up," she whispered. At the time, I had just received my biggest promotion. I was making more money than anyone realized. Helping wasn't even a difficult decision. I transferred enough to cover their mortgage that month. Mom cried when I showed her the confirmation. "You saved us," she whispered, squeezing my hands. I smiled. That's what family does. The next month she asked again. Then came Dad's medication, the insurance deductible, the internet bill, their car payment after unexpected repairs. None of it felt unreasonable. Life happens. People help each other. Months quietly became years. Eventually, every major bill simply became automatic. The mortgage drafted from my account. The family phone plan renewed using my card. Their internet renewed without anyone logging in. The homeowner's insurance. Utilities whenever they fell behind. Even my brother Jason's business loan. He promised he'd repay every dollar after his construction company became profitable. He never did. Rachel was no different. Whenever she switched jobs or needed help with rent, Mom would call me first. "She's your little sister. You know she's struggling." I always said yes. Not because anyone forced me. Because I genuinely loved them. At first, everyone thanked me. Mom baked my favorite pie whenever I visited. Dad hugged me before I drove home. Jason promised, "One day I'll make this right." Rachel told everyone she had the best big sister in the world. Then something changed. Slowly. Almost too slowly to notice. Thank you became expectation. Expectation became obligation. Mom stopped asking. She started informing. "The mortgage comes out tomorrow. Jason needs another payment." Rachel's phone was disconnected again. "Never. Can you help?" "Always. You'll take care of it." Family dinners changed too. Whenever conversations turned toward finances, my brother loved joking. "Emily doesn't have kids. She can afford it." Everyone laughed, including Mom. Nobody noticed I stopped laughing months earlier. One Christmas, I spent nearly $4,000 making sure everyone had gifts under the tree. Mom opened hers first. Without even looking up, she asked, "Did you remember Jason's insurance payment?" "Nah." "Merry Christmas." "Nah." "Thank you." Just another reminder. That should have been my warning. Instead, I convinced myself she was stressed. I kept paying. I kept believing things would eventually feel normal again. But normal never came. Only bigger expectations. Then 6 months ago, everything finally became clear. My mother hosted a family barbecue. Nearly 30 relatives filled the backyard. While I carried drinks outside, I overheard my brother talking to one of our cousins. "Emily acts generous," Jason laughed. "It's not like she's sacrificing anything. She practically has money growing on trees." The cousin asked, "She really pays all those bills?" Jason shrugged. "She should." Mom raised her. I stood frozen behind the patio door. Not one person corrected him. Not one person mentioned Dad's mortgage. Not one person mentioned the years I'd quietly kept everyone's lives afloat. That afternoon, I drove home wondering whether they appreciated me, or simply appreciated what I paid for. Now, staring at my banking app hours after being thrown out of the family group, I finally admitted the truth. They hadn't removed the daughter. They'd removed the wallet they assumed would never close. The digital clock changed. 1:11 a.m. 1 minute later, the pending payments became active. Without saying a single word, I selected every scheduled transfer. Mortgage, car payment, family phone plan, internet, insurance, business loan, utilities. My finger hovered above the screen for only a second. Then, I pressed cancel payment. One confirmation email arrived. Then another. Then another. Within 30 seconds, every automatic payment I'd quietly carried for 8 years
was gone.
My phone stayed completely silent for almost 6 hours. At 7:08 the next morning, my phone finally rang.
Mom.
I watched it vibrate across the kitchen counter until it stopped. A few seconds later, she called again. Then again. 3 missed calls in less than 5 minutes. I poured myself a cup of coffee before checking my voicemail. Her voice sounded more confused than angry. Emily, something strange happened. The mortgage payment didn't go through. I think your bank made a mistake. Call me. A minute later, another voicemail arrived. Sweetheart, the car company says the payment failed too. Can you check your account? Sweetheart. Interesting. Less than 12 hours earlier, I hadn't been part of the family. Now I was sweetheart again. I set my phone down without responding. At 7:46 a.m., Jason called. I ignored him. Rachel called immediately afterward.
Ignored.
By 8 o'clock, my screen looked like a missed call competition. Texts began replacing phone calls. Mom, please answer. Jason, bank issue? Rachel, my phone company sent me a payment warning. I read every message. I answered none of them. Instead, I opened my laptop and started working from home as if it were any ordinary Wednesday. Around 9:15, another notification appeared. This time it wasn't from my family. It was my bank confirming every canceled transfer had been successfully removed from automatic billing. 8 years of recurring payments ended with one confirmation email. At 9:42, the family group chat, where I had supposedly been unwelcome, became active again. My cousin Megan sent me a private screenshot. Someone had created a brand new group. Everyone was inside, except me. The messages scrolled one after another. Did Emily change banks? Maybe her account got hacked. She always pays on time. This has to be some kind of mistake. Not one person asked why I might have stopped. Only why the money had. I closed the screenshot and smiled sadly. That answered a question I'd been avoiding for years. They didn't miss me. They missed the payments. At 11:30, my office phone rang. Dad. Not Mom. Not Jason. Not Rachel.
Dad.
I answered immediately. Hi, Dad. He didn't speak for several seconds. When he finally did, his voice sounded unusually quiet. Your mother says the bank messed something up. I know. Another silence. Did you stop the payments? Yes. I heard him take a slow breath. Emily. Then nothing. No accusation. No lecture. Just uncertainty. Finally, he asked one simple question. Were you paying all of this? I looked out my apartment window toward the busy street below. Cars moved through green lights. People hurried into coffee shops. The whole city carried on as if nothing extraordinary had happened. Yes, I answered softly. The mortgage? Yes. The car? Yes. The phone plan? Yes. The insurance? Yes. The internet? Yes. Another long silence. Finally, he whispered, I didn't know. I know. Mom had always handled the bills. Dad trusted her completely, just like I'd trusted her. I thought, he said slowly, I thought your mother and Jason split everything. They didn't. You've been paying for all of us? For almost 8 years. His breathing changed. Not anger.
Shock.
I asked your mother last night why you left the family group. What did she tell you? She said you'd become disrespectful. I closed my eyes. Did she mention removing me?
No.
Did she tell you Jason reacted with a thumbs up?
No.
Did she tell you Rachel said, finally? Silence. I didn't need an answer. He already had one. I'm sorry, Dad finally whispered. I should have asked questions. You should have. Neither of us spoke for several moments. Then he quietly said, I think I need to have a conversation with your mother. I think you do. We ended the call without another word. Exactly 32 minutes later, my phone buzzed once more. A notification appeared. You have been invited to join family updates. The same relatives. The same profile pictures. The same people who had watched me disappear the night before. Only this time, They suddenly remembered I was family. I stared at the invitation for nearly a minute. Family updates.
Not we're sorry.
Not can we talk. Just another group chat with a cleaner name. I declined it without opening the conversation. Less than 30 seconds later, my phone rang.
Mom.
This time, I answered. Emily, she said, sounding relieved. Thank goodness. We've been trying to reach you all day. I noticed. There must have been some misunderstanding. A misunderstanding?
Yes.
Last night, everyone was emotional. I see. You know we didn't really mean any of that. I looked at the message she'd sent the night before. I had taken a screenshot before she removed me. We've all agreed you're no longer part of this family. There wasn't much room for misunderstanding. I think you meant exactly what you wrote.
She sighed.
Can we not do this over the phone? We're already doing it. Another pause. The mortgage company keeps calling. I know. The insurance payment didn't process. I know. And Jason says his business loan is overdue. I know. Her voice became tighter. So, when are you fixing it?
Not.
How are you? Not. Are you hurt? Not. I'm sorry. Just. When are you fixing it? I smiled sadly. I already fixed it. What? I stopped paying bills for people who decided I wasn't family. Silence. Real silence this time. Then Jason grabbed the phone. Emily, don't be dramatic. I'm not. You can't just pull the rug out from under everybody. I didn't. You've been paying those bills for years. Exactly. Then why stop now? His question almost made me laugh. You answered that yourself. What does that mean? You all decided I wasn't part of the family. Another silence. Rachel's voice suddenly joined the call. It was just one argument.
No.
It was one message.
No.
It was one group chat.
No.
It was 8 years. Nobody spoke. I opened the spreadsheet on my laptop. Since everyone seems confused, let's clear things up. What are you talking about? Mom asked. I'm looking at every payment I've made. I scrolled slowly. Mortgage. 96 consecutive payments. Silence. Family phone plan. 94 payments. Silence. Internet. 93. Insurance. 88. Jason's business loan. 31. Emergency roof repair. Car payment. Property taxes. Water bill. I continued reading. Each date. Each amount. Each confirmation number. Nobody interrupted anymore. The confidence had disappeared. Only breathing remained on the other end. Finally, Dad spoke. You kept records? I'm an operations manager, Dad. I keep records of everything. Mom's voice sounded smaller now. I didn't realize.
No.
You didn't think I'd ever need them. Another long pause settled over the call. Then Jason quietly asked, how much? I clicked one final cell in the spreadsheet. The total appeared at the bottom. $839,633.42. No one reacted. I honestly wondered if they'd heard me. Then Rachel whispered, that can't be right. It is. I never knew. I know, because nobody had ever asked. Mom suddenly began crying. I never wanted money to come between us. I closed my laptop. It didn't. What? You did. She cried harder. I was overwhelmed. I understand. I made mistakes. You did. Can we please start over? I walked toward my apartment window and watched the afternoon sun settle over the city. Cars filled the streets. Neighbors walked their dogs. Life moved forward. So that's it. Jason finally asked, you're just leaving? I took a slow breath. No, I already left. You removed me because you thought I'd stopped acting like family. I paused. The truth is, you removed me because you believed I'd never stop paying. No one said another word. For the first time in years, the silence belonged to them. Nobody called again that evening. For the first time in years, my apartment felt peaceful instead of lonely. There were no emergency requests. No last-minute transfers. No messages beginning with, can you help us just this once? Only silence. And strangely, it felt like freedom. The following Monday, I met with my financial advisor. We spent 3 hours removing every remaining connection between my accounts and my family's finances. Automatic payments, authorized users, emergency contacts, shared billing addresses. Every financial tie disappeared one signature at a time. When we finished, he smiled politely. You've been carrying a lot. I know. How does it feel? I looked at the final confirmation screen. Lighter. That afternoon, I received another message from Mom. This one was different. There were no excuses. No requests. Only 4 words. Can we please talk? I didn't answer immediately. Not because I wanted revenge. Because I finally understood something I'd ignored for years. Forgiveness and access are not the same thing. 2 days later, Dad came to my apartment alone. When I opened the door, he looked older than I remembered. He held a small cardboard box. I found these in the attic, he said. Inside were photographs. My first bicycle. Elementary school art projects. A Father's Day card I'd made when I was 7. He smiled sadly. You've always been the one taking care of everyone. I looked at the pictures for a long moment. I got tired, Dad. His eyes filled with tears. I should have noticed. You should have. I can't change the past. I know, but I want to do better. For the first time in weeks, I believed someone meant it. Over the next several months, things slowly changed. Jason sold equipment from his business to pay down his own loan. Rachel picked up a second job and stopped asking everyone else to solve her problems. Dad insisted on learning every household bill himself.
And Mom
finally discovered what responsibility actually cost. Not because I wanted her to struggle, because she'd spent too many years believing someone else would always quietly rescue her. 3 months later, another notification appeared. Mom has invited you to join family updates.
I stared at it for a long time.
Then I opened the invitation. Before accepting, I read the newest message. Emily, whether you join or not, we're sorry for how we treated you. We should have appreciated you long before we needed you. I closed the app. Then I politely declined. Not out of anger. Out of peace. Some chapters don't need another page. A week later, Dad invited me to lunch. Just the 2 of us. No family meeting. No pressure. No guilt. We talked about work, movies, his vegetable garden. The conversation felt wonderfully ordinary. As I walked back to my car afterward, my phone buzzed. Another message from Mom. I hope one day you'll forgive me. I smiled gently before locking my phone. Maybe I already had. Forgiveness isn't pretending the hurt never happened. It's refusing to let the hurt decide your future. Trust, however. Trust has to be earned one choice at a time. That night I sat on my balcony watching the sunset paint the sky orange and gold. For years I believed love meant carrying everyone else's burdens, even when they forgot to carry mine. I was wrong. Real family doesn't measure your value by what you provide. They value your presence long before they notice your absence. Sometimes the loudest goodbye isn't the one someone sends in a group chat. It's the quiet moment you stop carrying people who stopped appreciating the person carrying them. And that was the night I finally came home to myself.